I'm Joshua Patterson, and this is a Service Please snack. So, I think it's great to just say thank you so much for basically spending time with me today for Service Please. It's been a real pleasure and an honour to actually get all of this together. And one of the biggest things is I think the product in which you're putting out is fantastic.
Thanks.
Recommend it to a number of friends.
And even yourself?
I do. I'm not going to lie, one of the biggest things is obviously it's been my life for a long time.
Yes,
but
you feel like you know everyone.
But you don't as well. One of the big, I was just saying to you, I've not always been as present on social media as I've always wanted to be, or whatever reasons. And you find that actually that's probably the people that are going out and finding these new spots and new gems, if your friends or your circle isn't completely involved within food. So actually it's great to be able just to have a single place in which you don't have to spend hours scrolling on social media or finding the new people that are actually really looking out for it. It's just a really concise way of getting to that point. So yeah, I would really, really love to know just a little bit of your background and the way and the catalyzation for you to get to the point of learning and cutting your teeth basically within obviously this kind of space.
So I find this funny because Sophie, who works for me, must hear me say this like 15 times a day. I was in concierge, so I essentially, kind of like the quintessentially Velocity Blacks, Amex Centurions of the world, I worked in a very private family office. So we had like 20 international families who were coming over, and I essentially sorted out all of their lifestyle travel, restaurants, knew all of the best places, and I became that person. Like there's one in every friend group that is like, where do I go for lunch, brunch and dinner? Which actually I found it annoying because it was always, where do I go for lunch around Oxford Circus? And at that point I was like, either, so I'd been headhunted, so I was at this family office, been headhunted by Velocity Black to be their brand director. I didn't think they were doing a great job of what they were doing, but that aside, I kind of sat there thinking that concierge wasn't the answer because it's not infinitely scalable. You have so many people relying on you as one person in your relationships. You're doing a lot of effort for not a lot back. And I was like, so that there was one side where I was like, concierge to me isn't really working. The other side was all of my friends want an answer. Either there's an app in the App Store that none of us are using, spent some time looking, there was nothing, or there's a real gap in the market to build a platform that we all want to spend time on that isn't your TripAdvisor's, Open Tables, bigger platforms that didn't work, and wasn't Instagram because, as you said, Instagram's great for inspiration, but it's not great for discovery. It actually was better, and then they rolled back the map, and then it became just a source of inspiration, and saving is difficult. You can't search by area and all the other things you can do with Onezone. So, sat there, had the idea in my head, quit my job, and one of my friends said to me, you've got about 2-3 months worth of savings, spend your time on it. If you've got this great idea, spend some time on it. If it goes nowhere, you just go and get another job. So I was in that phase where I was like, I had earned enough that I could take that risk. And if it worked out, well, here we are. And if it didn't, I would just go and get another job. It didn't matter enough. So I had that kind of flexibility at the time to do it. And that, so it wasn't like a random one moment thing. I had enough knowledge and expertise that I'd been doing concierge for a really long time to have the idea, and then understood that I had a knack for tech only by doing this. A lot of people say to me, who's designed your app? And it is me. But I wasn't in tech. I didn't have any background in it. My background was the hospitality side.
And when you say take those few months to spend some time on it, what was it that you were spending your time on at that point?
I sat in my bedroom and I have all the notebooks because I was like, I'm going to keep them. And I was like, it was firstly looking into apps and going, how do you make them addictive? That sounds bad, but like, how do you make them interesting? How do you engage your user? What do all of the best apps have in common? So I sat there pulling out, what do I like about Spotify? What do I like about Uber? Looking at all the designs, like why do these work best? Looking at all of the apps that didn't work, because I think there's a lesson in, a lot of people come to apps and go, I want to make something that's never been done before. And I looked at it and went, I look at it as like all of the best artists copy and went, all of these massive $1 billion apps work. What are the things that work? And let's take them. Not let's reinvent the wheel and have an app that everyone comes into and doesn't get. So I think one of the strong points, and people say, is they come in and they go, oh, it feels like Instagram. And that was a considered decision, going, well, Instagram's the biggest app we all use at that time. So why wouldn't I make it look and feel and operate in a very similar, easy way? Because they will have done the testing for me. And I'm not looking at it going that no one's built an app before. I'm like, right, well, they'll have done it. They know what works. So therefore, I'm going to look at what they did.
Yeah, you are looking for that little bit of addiction. You said it's bad, but actually you want people coming back and feeling confident and comfortable, but also familiar with something. And I think that's definitely a really strong point.
What the question was I literally sat at my own drawing out those, looking at the apps. in creating like decks of all the things that I thought were missing, that were wrong, how I would put it together, what was missing in the market, looking at all of the products that did exist, so like the TripAdvisor world, pulling that out, and then just draw out the screens. Found a web developer in Chelsea who, this is now telling you the story of how I got there, found a web developer in Chelsea who'd never built an app, and I said, do you think you could do it? And he was like, I could try. Spent like, I don't know, 14 hours a day with him, like redesigning what I wanted it to look like. He built me this like shitty web app that didn't really work as an app, broke every 5 minutes, gave it to all of my friends, and it suddenly kind of grew very quickly. All of my friends were jumping on it, and it really didn't work. And I was like, what is it? I'd basically spent a load of time making it work, a really, really bad version of what it is now. Put all of my best favourite places in it. I actually curated 4 cities right at the beginning. I did LA, Lisbon, New York and London for some weird reason. And then said to them, what is it that's keeping you there? And one of my friends, I remember really clearly, said, it's faster than Google to find a cool place. I was like, well, that's interesting because it's not faster than Google. Google's really fast and it's huge. But I was like, what you're telling me is that my curation means it's faster because you're not having to go through all of the crap. So it's the curation that's the USP, and that's essentially why we ended up with a curated discovery platform.
I hope you enjoyed this Service Please snack from the full meal. I have a final favour if you wouldn't mind helping me out. Could you interact with this channel in any way which feels best for you? That could either be by subscribing, liking, or even commenting an idea for future episodes and topics you'd like to hear spoken about. This will help amplify the voice of the hospitality and wider food industry, enabling more people to understand the innovations and daily struggles of one of the most dynamic sectors, and of course, the tastiest. I'm Joshua Patterson, and that was Service Please.